Okay, good morning once again. You are all welcome to this special webinar in collaboration with the Arisu Academy and Distinction webinar series. My guest today is a very special guest that does not need long introduction. Well, I'll use this opportunity to introduce Saliu Tanko Yakasai, who is popularly known as Dawisu. And today, many of you will get to know him not as a politician or public servant or a public affairs commentator, but an advocate for good governance. Beyond public office, Awis has also been a consistent promoter of active citizenship, youth development, civic engagement, and community progress. He brings together practical experience in public service with strong exposure to leadership, governance, policy, and public communication. His educational and professional development journey includes learning experiences with institutions such as Harvard Kennedy School, the London School of Economics, the University of Law, and National Open University of Nigeria. Over the years, Saliu Tankoya Kasai has used his voice and platform to support conversations around governance, accountability, education, innovation, and the role of young people in shaping society. Personally, I have known him since the days of Occupy Nigeria in 2011, and I've seen his support for youth-led initiatives, especially in the early efforts to build the technology ecosystem in Kano. He was always present, encouraging, amplifying, and supporting young people who were trying to create impact, and he has never slowed down. Today, through Awisu Academy, which we are hopefully going to learn more about, he's taking that commitment further by helping to develop informed citizens, responsible leaders, and change makers. Please join me in welcoming our special guest, Saliu Tanko Yakasai. You are highly welcome.
Thank you very much, Hafiz, and still, yeah, good morning to all those that have joined. Pleasure to be here.
Uh, Thank you. So, like I said in the introduction, I've known you for many, many years. When I know you around 2011, I don't think I can recall if you've held any public office and so on. So for me, I knew you more as, you know, advocate for citizenship, and then we got to interact and do things around tech ecosystem building in Kano. And I remember how we were always there in our programs, uh, supporting, encouraging the youth, and so on. So before many people knew us politicians, were already in these activities, advocacy and public conversation. What first awakened that sense of civic responsibility in you?
Well, thank you very much, Hafiz Faiz, for the opportunity, not just for this webinar, but also to partner between the Dawiso Academy and Distinction AI, of which you did well in establishing. I think it's something very commendable, and I thank you for it. I hope people get to benefit from the establishment of the Distinction AI and now the Dawiso Academy as well. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you very much to those that have joined for this webinar. First and foremost, I think for me, public service has been in my DNA, considering the background that I came from, which is my home. I grew up in a political family, not just political family, but a family that has been giving back to the community, even before the coming of politics in Nigeria. My father, along with other notable leaders in Kano, like the Malam Aminu Kano, like Magaji Dambata, like Aminu Dantata, and the rest. Like Dambasan Kano, who is even a bit younger than my dad. But at that time, during their days, the emancipation of the masses, from the traditional institutions that were in power then was the key thing for them. The first political party in Nigeria was formed here in Kano, that is the Northern Elements Progressive Union, NEPU. And so my father was part of that. Even before that, they participated in the um, pre-independence struggle and so on and so forth. So that type of environment that I grew up in, of course, I learned a lot from it. I learned that in my house, the doors are always open for everyone. We don't have a gate man at the gate simply to stop people from coming in, but more or less to direct people to where they should go. If they're going to my father's side or if they are going to my mother's side or stepmother's side. So that's what the role of a security guard was at the house, not to stop anyone from coming. So my father operated an open door policy where people come in for all sort of things. And as such, like I said, that has really been embedded in my DNA. And of course, in the course of the conversation, we'll come to how I graduated from one thing to another. For instance, from community development advocate, to a politician, to joining journalism, more or less a media profession. So it all comes down to that um, citizen leadership, just trying to give back to the community, just trying to you know, correct the ills that are happening in the society, and most importantly, do the little that we can within our immediate environment to ensure that we make the society or our community a little bit better. So that is what the inspiration was, and that is how we started. And Alhamdulillah, for almost 30 years, uh, this has been my life. And I remember asking myself, when I was about to start, what do I what do I stand to gain from this? Why am I joining the advocacy sector more or less? And I remember the answer I gave myself back then was that the same way my father, who is 101 years old now, started community development advocacy as way back as almost 8 years ago when he was in his early 20s. I remember answering that question that I asked myself. I also want to do the same thing. I also want to give back to my community in any capacity, and to continue to do so to the best of my ability, at least for the time that I'm allotted to be on this earth. So this is the inspiration. This is why I've been doing that. I hope I've answered that question.
Yeah, definitely. That's really a very interesting story and a very long time of consistency and commitment. Uh, Looking back at your dad, who is over 100 years old, and you've been doing this for almost 3 decades now. That's
Yes.
really interesting. And just to follow up on that, like I said, you've been participated in number of, you know, advocacy and so on. Specifically, many people know you online, and around 2011, during one of the protests, you played a very important role. And at that point, many young Nigerians felt a new sense of civic power. So looking back now, what did that moment teach you, about the strength and weakness of citizen action in Nigeria?
The Occupy Nigeria moment was a game changer for me in my life. Um, Prior to Occupy Nigeria, I think the only advocacy I was involved with is volunteering at an evening classes uh, for people that wanted to learn English and some basic education like maths, adult education, like English, maths, and what have you. There is a school just close to my house.
My helper.
Okay.
There's a school just close to my house that I think that I volunteered to be a teacher. And it was just a small class of less than 10 people at that time. That was the first thing that I can remember I've engaged myself in. So uh, when the time came for the fuel subsidy protests, popularly known as Occupy Nigeria, in 2011, during the administration of Goodluck Jonathan, because of the hike in fuel price and the intention of the government back then to remove fuel subsidy, which, as we can see happening now, had the potential of inducing um, inflation and cost of living going up, just as we're experiencing now. So at that time, young people, of course, there were conversations around it in the country, but I remember the major protest started in Kano. I was part of it. The likes of Bulama Bakarti, Mohammed Sharif, and a few other of student union activities from Bayero University. They were the organizers of that particular protest, and they marched from BUK all side all to Silver Jubilee roundabout here in Kano back then, which is now the Gidamurchala area. So I joined them, and we started that protest, I think, from 11 a.m. And by 3 p.m., when BBC Hausa did a special report live from the venue of the protest, almost the entire Kano state was brought to a standstill. Markets were closed, shops were closed, people were heading back home. And the reason why people were rushing back home and markets were closed was simply because prior to that protest in 2011, there was never a protest in Kano that did not turn violent, that did not turn into a religious or ethnic or regional crisis, because it always turns against Kano people. The southerners presided in Kano, being the target, especially by hoodlums. So when the news broke out that there was Occupy, and there was a protest, for a subsidy protest in Kano, everybody panicked and they went home. But as the day goes by, we were there all night, and people realized that this protest is different. At one point, we, the Muslims, were praying, and the Christians, because they are Christian students that joined us, were protecting those that were praying just in case because the security personnel were at that time threatening to attack us and all that. So the role I played in that one was more or less to tweet about it, to keep updating people, what's happening, what are the key points that are being raised, who is speaking, photos, videos, and all that. So that really brought the attention of the entire world, not just Nigeria, to Kano, and how the organizers of that particular protest were able to coordinate it, organize it in such a way that it was very well organized, and did not descend into chaos, which was what was obtained prior to that protest. So you could see how that particular moment opened my eyes to the power, that an organized and coordinated protest has. And I think that was really a game changer in me, in my life. And I saw the potential of what the people coming together can achieve. It was really commendable. It was really something that I really proud of to participated in, and I think I've learned a lot from it.
Interestingly, 2011 was quite a long time now, and
It was.
you were much younger and so on. But then social media was not really popular, especially Twitter, now
Yes,
X, right? And
yes,
so what I could remember back then is, yeah, 2008 Obama campaign. Twitter played a very important role and so on. But at that
yes.
time, I don't have the figures of how many Nigerians were even on Twitter. But how did you get to find out about the power of that? And is that what influenced you to realize that you don't need an official title, or you don't need to be elected into an office for you to be influential?
So as you said, at that time I was, I wouldn't say young, but I was still, I was still in my prime. You understand? And even though, like you said, the number of people, particularly Nigerians on Twitter, were not many compared to, say, Facebook, because Facebook has more members or subscribers than Twitter. But one thing that Twitter has is the who and who. Everyone important at that time at least has a Twitter account. You understand? And it was not just confined to the walls of Nigeria, but globally, because at that time, if you take, for instance, I don't want to belittle any platform, but if you take, for instance, platforms like Facebook, it was more or less community oriented. You realize that more people within a community or state, on that platform, unlike a Twitter that has almost everyone on it, and everyone, even if you are not followed, you can see their tweets and posts. So the importance of the difference and importance of Twitter, made it a success, because I was interviewed by international media platforms like CNN, like BBC. Over 10 of them interviewed me just because we are posting on Twitter. It was the posts were going viral. People were engaging it, not just within Kano, but outside Kano and outside the country as well. So for me, that made me realize that I think at that time my followers were less than 100, but my posts were getting thousands and thousands of retweets. People are interested in what's happening and are keen to follow till the end, because we were there till about 3 a.m. before the police tear gassed us and charged into us and dispersed the crowd. So that opened my eyes to the possibility of how a simple platform of yours, if used properly for the right reasons, can have a huge impact, on the people. So it made me realize that at that time I wasn't holding any public office. In fact, I think I was working in a radio station at that time, and I think also, yeah. So I was just doing my things, working with NGOs and what have you. But like I said, it showed me that if you really are committed to speaking about societal issues, you'll definitely get the attention of the world, and you get to influence the opinion and decisions on things that matter the most to the people. And I think that moment gave me that understanding, and I have since embraced it, and I've used it a number of times.
Interesting. And fast forward, to date, and talking about citizen leadership and the Nigerian reality.
Yes.
Nigeria has one of the youngest population in the world, with majority under 25.
Yeah.
But many young people feel excluded, frustrated, or unheard. What do you think is the missing link between youth population and youth influence? Even though we have successful examples like you here and so on, but as we speak, the reality is there's a lot of conversation around youth. I know there's the bill, but not too young to run and so on. But what do you think is the missing link between our population and the youth influence?
Well, I think the first one is the deliberate effort by the political class in Nigeria to um, to kill that mindset of we can do it. That we have the young people have the capacity to do things. I think they've successfully killed that in the young people of Nigeria today, because they always tell them that you know. You don't have experience, you don't have the resources, you can't do this on your own, and so on and so forth. So they've been crippled by that deliberate effort by our political class to ensure that they don't give a space, to the younger generation on the platform. And so unfortunate that even those that have been given the opportunity, you realize that they are being controlled by these same elites. You see them that they bring out their proteges, they give them positions or appointments, and at the same time they want to control them from the background. And that is the case. Then how do you then excel? How do you then bring the whatever good idea that you have in terms of making a difference? I'm not saying there are no few exceptions. We have a number of few exceptions, but compared to what can be done by the youth if given the freedom, if they're given the opportunity, I think we are nowhere where we should be. Understand? I think this particular attempt by the political elites has dampened that morale, whereby at the age that I am, almost 50 years, I'm being told that I'm still youth, I'm being told that I'm still young, I'm being told that I'm not old enough, while I'm already looking at my retirement plan, So imagine how if they see me as young and not good enough to hold positions and what have you, they rather give us essays and PAs and what have you. Then imagine what they see those that are younger than me. They see them as babies, they see them as little children. But there's that gap of deliberately grooming the next set of leaders. You understand? How do you ensure that right from home, right from the nucleus part of the society, which is the family, the home, how do you instill leadership qualities in children, so that to grow and be leaders in whatever field they find themselves in. I think this is really important if we want to groom the next set of leaders. I always tell people that you don't need a position to make impact. You can do it in any capacity you find yourself in. And I think if the young people, you're talking about majority of them being 25 years and below. The actual data is about almost 80% of Nigerians. The population is 230 or thereabout. 80% of them are under under the official age of youth in Nigeria, which is 35. I think, depending on which definition you take, some are saying 40, some are saying 30, some are saying 35. But if you even take the average of 30 years, 35 years, you know, you could see that 80% of that 230 million people are under the age of 35. And I think there's no way, nowhere in the world, such a vibrant, brilliant demography cannot be the ones dictating the affairs of this country, cannot be it in governance, be it in business, be whatever you can think of. This demography has the capacity and the capability to lead in any sector that you put them in. So I think this is where the problem is. And this is why platforms like this and yours that are equipping the young people with the right skills, the right knowledge are important. And I think we should do whatever we can to encourage such platforms so that we can have more informed and better trained leaders from the younger generation.
Just a brief follow-up on that. The statistics by the National MPI show that over 130 million Nigerians are multidimensionally poor.
Yeah.
And people like you encourage the youth and so on to take responsibility. So, but practically, when people are, poor and trying to look for what to eat, make the ends meet, how is that going to be possible practically?
It's really hard, to be honest. You're struggling to get a little change to feed yourself, to feed your family, your immediate family, to make sure you meet your basic needs, of survival. And then on one hand, you are doing that, and then on the other hand, you're trying to ask for good governance, you're trying to ask for accountability from our leaders. It's extremely hard. And that is why they have been deliberate in making sure that, we remain poor. It's sad because even they, as leaders, will tend to benefit more from a robust economy, from a robust citizenship, because the better the quality of leadership, the better their influence, the better the impact, the legacy that they will leave if they are thinking in that direction. Because for me, leadership is all about leaving a legacy, irrespective of what type of position that leadership is giving you. So to leave that legacy is to be able to impact on people positively. How do you do that? Is by empowering them. You empower them in whatever endeavor they set out to do, whether entrepreneurship, whether education, whether poverty reduction. These are what matters. But the sad part is that the type of, even the few that are doing anything or something, in terms of emancipation of the people, you realize that it's not a sustained one. They just come and do one empowerment event, give them 50,000, take one or two equipment, whatever, irrespective of their interest is, whether it's a fishery, whether it's a poultry, whether it's farming, whatever it is. You just take something, machinery, and give them. And because they are so poor, a lot of people would take whatever empowerment tools they were given, they sell them right there at the venue and take the cash, just to go and take care of their immediate needs. So to come back to your question, I always bring this back to the younger people. You understand? There are so many ways you can be economically independent. There are so many things you can do, especially with tools, with platforms, with social media platforms now, where you can go on and post your products and post your whatever you have. Even this webinar, we posted it online and look at how we have people that have joined in now. So you can do that at your little level, and you have no idea who will see it and who will come to you to add value to it. You start, whatever you are selling, whatever you are doing, you start with friends and family first. From there, it will grow. It will go to your neighborhood, it will go to your community, it will go to local government, from local government to the state, and from there, you never know where it will end. And I always tell people one of the biggest marketing strategy is the word of mouth. I buy something from you, I get some services from you, I'm satisfied with it, and I go on and start telling people that, oh, if you need so thing or so services, please try this. He's a so start little, start something small. Make sure that you don't just become an e-beggar, begging people here and there. Just try and see that you get something going for you. And like I always say, make it something that you are passionate about. Make it something that you're interested in. This is why I'm able to do this for close to 30 years without getting tired, without feeling exhausted, and so on and so forth. Because whatever I'm doing something that I'm passionate about. All the three major areas that I've focused in, from community development to politics to media, they are all, if you look at them carefully, they are all about serving the people, creating awareness, empowering the people, you know. So this is what I'm passionate about. And I didn't design it that way. I started, in everything that I do, I make sure I turn it into something that I'm passionate about. And that's how you can start. Whatever you're into, whatever you feel like doing, you want to do coding, you want to do programming, you are passionate about it, learn the skills, start slow, and before you know it, it becomes big, inshallah. So I think that's what our younger people needs to focus on. Yeah. I've answered
You
it.
definitely need a master class. I can see you already share a lot of experience,
Yes.
of what you've achieved over the years, your experience from London, Harvard Kennedy School, London School of Economics. We hope
Yes.
you have more of this. But to jump into some of your, I would say, active participation in the ecosystem, specifically in youth and technology. One of the reasons I personally admire your journey is we were directly involved in as far back as 2011, 12, when the tech ecosystem was still very young and building. I was the founder of Google Developer Group in Abuja, and we started in Kano with Usman and the likes, and all the other things we did. You were always present, encouraging young people, and you continue to amplify, the things we are doing. So, why did technology and youth innovation matter to you at that time?
Well, at that time, to be honest and to be candid, even I myself did not understand what it was. I did not understand the magnitude of what technology can be at that time. I'm not a tech person. I do not have background in that, and so on and so forth. But even though I secondary school did sciences for a bit, but for me, irrespective of what
Can you
it
check
is,
your mic? It's a bit.
you can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I was saying, for me, irrespective of whatever engagement it is, be it tech, be it arts and crafts, be it farming, any platform that I see young people coming together, I come to support them. I come to be present. I come to learn, because a lot of the things that I participate in, it's also a learning experience for me. On the other hand, I'm not just going to give, but I'm also going to receive, and that is how, I made it a point that first of all, there is no invitation sent to me that I do not accept. You understand? Because from that, um, from that opportunity, you never know who you will inspire to go on and become successful in life. You never know. Understand? From that opportunity, you don't know who you will meet. The networking opportunity that comes with that can add value to your life, or you can add value to their life, or you can come together, just like now, the way myself and I and you are coming together to do this. So at every opportunity that I get, I make sure that I am present in it. And this is something that I see um, in my life. Whatever I lacked growing up, or even still now as I am old, I try to make sure that I I don't allow others to go through that, not to be missing some of that. What I'm trying to say is that um, I probably growing up, I do not have such opportunities to be mentored, to be put in the right direction, and so on and so forth. I was just flowing and cruising independently, and that is how I found myself. I navigated through the world and find myself where I am today. So I want to make sure that that little guidance, that little support, that I can give within my own little capacity to anybody, it's plays a role, whether I know it or I don't know it, in them becoming successful in life. So, like I said, from the tech system, it's not just what we started with you back in 2012 and all that. I remember when I was I remember at one point, I think during the first tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari, there was a delegation that went to Silicon Valley, led by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo then, and I saw a vacuum. The vacuum that I saw was that I think in about 10 different startups that were selected to accompany the Vice President, there was not a single one from Northern Nigeria. And I was so curious. Is it that we don't have tech startups that are good enough to be included in the team that were going to the Silicon Valley? I was so curious, and I was kept asking questions online, and I realized that is it's one thing to just ask questions and make noise, but it's another thing to act on it. There's a vacuum. What can you do to make a difference? And that is how we came about Arewa Tech Festival, or Arewa Tech Society, where we held events simultaneously across the 19 northern states with people physically present in all the states at the venues, and simultaneously through online platforms. We connected, we held events, and so many young people through that particular event, were inspired to go into tech. They have now become successful, and so on and so forth. So, like I keep saying, it's a continuous process. Be there. Through the years, I've gotten a bit of experience, and how do I use that experience and add value to the younger generation? I think is something that I'm keen on doing, and I'll continue to do, at least so that we can uh, make their lives a little bit better than they are.
Thank you for for that very eye-opening experience and feedback. So now moving into public office and accountability and so on, the citizen responsibility. With your experience in public office, being an advocate working with NGOs and so on. What do you see? Where do you see the youth or the citizen misunderstand about government? And also, just to add to that, many also believe accountability means attacking leaders. So how can citizens hold, leaders accountable without becoming hostile, abusive, and so on, but just really effective way of driving the needle and helping the society, the country move forward?
That is a very big, the two questions are very big questions because the first one, the perception that the young people have of government or governance or leadership is what they see happening now with our leaders. You see someone that is extremely poor, before getting into office, and then suddenly his skin is looking fresh, his lagbada is crispy, his watch is Rolex, or what's the other? I'm not a designer person, but you get what I mean. You see them in expensive cars, you see them building mansions, and that's why people that just a year or two ago before they get into office do not have this. So this becomes the perception of what leadership is in Nigeria. To get into office, to enrich yourself, to live large, to amass so much wealth that you don't even need. And the worst part is that this wealth that they amass, they just take it and keep and keep and keep. They don't even make it productive. Like put it in an industry, put it in manufacturing, put it in farming so that they can at least be productive. That is the type of leaders that our young people are seeing. That is the type of leaders that our young people are aspiring to become. How do I also on a private jet, fly around the world, and so on and so forth? And this is where we are getting a rock, and this is where we will continue to get a rock. Leadership is all about sacrifices. I always tell people, one of the advice that I always tell any friend of mine that gets appointed for the first time, I always tell them, even phone management, this phone that we have, to manage your phone is a Herculean task if you want to keep your friends, because the amount of text messages, the amount of calls you receive when you become a leader, when you go into the corridors of power, are so enormous that you can't even handle it. You understand? I remember when I was in government working with the state government as a special advisor media, every night I come back home, I make sure I check all my messages, I make sure I reply them all, I make sure I return all missed calls. Usually it takes me over an hour to finish all this before I go to bed because I don't go to bed with a message that has not been replied upon. You understand? So, like I always say, it is tasking. If you manage your phone, is this tasking? Imagine other responsibilities that come with the office, the pressure that comes with it. There are also conflicting demands pulling you from left, right, and center. But we cannot live in a society where there are no leaders. So we have to have leaders. As tough as it is, we have to have leaders. So I think what the young people need to understand is that leadership is an opportunity for you to leave a lasting legacy that will surpass you even long after you're gone. Today, we are celebrating the likes of Mala Aminu Kano. We are celebrating the likes of Audu Bako. We are celebrating in Kano, for instance. We are celebrating so many of them that have contributed immensely to the development of our state. The what do you call it? The Kura irrigation farm that we have here in Kano State, was done by during the administration of Abdu Bako by the Commissioner of Agriculture, Alaji Inu Edrusi. When they were doing that, they planned it in such a way that it will cater for the needs of Kano for 50 years. 50 years down the line, some of the roads they did, we are still benefiting from it. Now, this is the type of legacy that our young people should be aspiring to leave. Not a legacy of houses that once you are dead, Once you die, you know, it goes into battle of inheritance. People, your children will be fighting one another, trying to take their share of the inheritance. You know, and a lot of them, a lot of these leaders, when they leave office, they are even before even their time is up. A lot of these resources, you know, will be swindled. We have seen them. We have seen former governors, former senators, former what have you, that have become so poor and they did not leave a legacy, and the wealth that they've stolen, you know, it's finished, it's gone, just like that. So aspire to be a leader so that you can leave a legacy. I always tell young people this: leave a legacy, leave a name that long after you, people will still remember and pray for you. I think that's the biggest benefit to you as a leader, you know, and so on and so forth. So that disconnect, I think the young people, the younger generation need to understand it, and they need to shy away from materialism and look at leadership more from the point of sacrifice, more like not something that is beneficial, like an avenue for them to reach themselves. And the second part of the question is, if you can remind me again, please. Sorry, it slipped my mind.
Yeah, it's about how to hold, the
Yes,
leaders
yes,
accountable
yes.
without
I
being
know how to,
hostile.
without being hostile. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword on that one, because for you to get their attention, you have to be sometimes hostile. You understand? If you go keep posting like, how about what you guys are doing is not right, please do the right thing. Nah. A lot of the times you won't get their attention. But like I always say, speak on issues, speak passionately. You know, you can speak passionately on these issues as a young person. But like my father always say, whatever you do, make sure that what you are saying is truth, is the truth. You are not creating false things and all that, creating lies and spreading it. That is not good. So whatever you do, you should have your facts, be factual, so that when you are speaking on issues, make sure you have your facts right. Do your investigation before you come public with it. You know, if there are reports that district head, you know, is taking taxes unofficially, you know, do your investigation, get your facts before you come public. So that's the second one. And then the third one, try as much as possible. I know sometimes we get carried away by emotions and so on and so forth. Try as much as possible. Don't get personal. You know, don't attack the personalities of those you're trying to demand for good governance from. You know, like I said, sometimes useful exuberance can lead you to, you know, to attack personalities. We've all been guilty of that in the past. But at least these three things my father always tells me to try and be wary of it. And I'm also passing that message at any opportunity that I get. So speak out on issues, but most importantly, you know, be passionate about it. There's a difference between passionate about something and being hostile, too hostile, to, you know, being destructive and so on and so forth. So that we need to differentiate between the two, so that we get the attention of those that we want to get their attention, and then get them to do the right thing. I think that is the ultimate goal, getting their attention for them to do the right thing. You know, that's it.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point. And talking
Yeah.
about Nigeria, there's a lot to unpack. Uh, but we want to, for us at Distinction specifically,
Yes.
we are passionate about education, how to create world of lifelong learners who unlock their potential. So and we try to be non-partisan as well and focus on this passing the information, getting people to understand that if you educate yourself, you empower yourself and you participate in driving the positive change. Coincidentally, I think as I mentioned, in one of the posts, people know that you are a past gubernatorial candidate in Kano. And maybe people are expecting to see recently, even though we don't want to talk about politics here. Well, recently you were seen with the former vice president and so on. Maybe people were thinking you'd be the next governorship candidate of ADC and so on. But not talking about that specifically, what caught my attention is when I learned that Awisu is starting an academy. That I became very interested, and it came at the time where at distinction, that's what we were also trying to do, how to amplify, the knowledge and experiences of people like you and so on. So in a summary, where everyone was maybe expecting to see you very active in politics, then suddenly this direction of uh, Awisu Academy and so on. Why Awisu Academy and why now?
Well, thank you very much for that. First of all, let me commend you, by extension, the FlexiSAP team, for all you have been doing in the education sector for a very long time now. If I'm not mistaken, over a decade so far. And I am happy with the growth that you have recorded, the successes, the impact that you have made, and that's really something to commend you on. You have no idea the impact, the changes that you're making in our society, particularly in northern Nigeria, where it is needed the most. I have known some of your activities, and I know how a game changer some of them are. So I commend you for that. Secondly, of course, we are not here to discuss politics, but I always tell people, if I tell people that most of the content that I did, most of the positions that I sought, decided to seek for office, I didn't do it because I wanted to contest or I just wanted to get into office and do that. Even the governorship election that I ran in 2023, I was forced to do it, by my friends and colleagues. And the argument is that if we are complaining every day about bad leadership, the current leaders that we have are not doing what is expected. So why should we leave it to them? Why should we leave leadership to the bad ones among us? Why can't we identify the ones that we feel can make a difference, the ones that we think have what it takes to do the address some of these societal issues that we are facing, and so on and so forth. So this is one of the things that really made me to contest. If my friends and colleagues and so on and so forth have good expectations of me that I can be different, then it falls on me to accept it and to offer myself for that services. That's that. Now, I've tried so many times to be elected, and all the time I always tell myself that maybe I'm not fit, not fit enough to be. Probably it's God that is shielding me, from joining this list of bad leaders. That is why He has not given me the opportunity to lead. But should we continue to wait till we get into office before we can give our quota? This is something that I've always been, like I said, for almost 30 years I've been doing this. So should I continue to hold on till I get into office before I can do the little that I can? No. There are so many things that can be done. And as such, this is how we came up with this idea of the Awisu Leadership Academy. I have participated in leadership courses, like you rightly said in the introduction. I did 3 leadership courses at Harvard. I did another at London School of Economics. These are prestigious institutions. And up to today, months or years after I've left those classes, up to today, I'm still applying what I've learned in the class, in my daily activities. You understand? And as such, you can see the impact of the knowledge that I acquired, and today I am here also giving it back. You understand? To give an example, when Lee Kuan Yew, became the leader of Singapore back then, before Singapore became what it is today, one of the first things that he did was to go to Harvard to meet his lecturers, his professors, and tap into their brain, picked ideas, localized them, and went back to Singapore to implement. You understand? And it's because of that knowledge that he acquired that he went back to Singapore, and today we are all witnesses to what Singapore has become. So these lessons or leadership qualities that I've learned, not just in these Ivy League institutions, but even in daily life, from my close to a decade of being in the corridors of power, from my interactions with leaders, I want to believe I've gained a bit of experience and knowledge. And as such, we need to come and transfer that knowledge, to the upcoming generation. And that is why we decided to come up with Leadership Academy. And to also address that gap of not grooming the next set of leaders, because that is not happening. We decided that this Leadership Academy should come and play. And it's not just, to go out and lead into the society. No, right from your house, right from the house. What are you doing currently that you need to change? For instance, I always give this example. I refuse to do bypass, electricity bypass, as we call it, simply because I feel that is not right. But you have a lot of it from the data that I got from one of the NEPA, we always call it NEPA, one of the NEPA guys in Abuja. One of the areas that electricity bypass is rampant is in the elite area of Guzapi, where 70% of the houses are doing electricity bypass. And these are where the leaders in every sector, whether in governance, whether in business, this is where they are residing. And they are the culprits of doing bypass and so on and so forth. So things as simple as obeying traffic lights, things as simple as making sure your license is up to date, your car registration documents are up to date. Things as simple as this are vital in having a community or a society that thrives, that is on the trajectory of development, And most importantly, when you build your own character, then it is also how to intervene, when you see anything going wrong. When you see people dumping refuse on the side of the road, it falls upon you, as a leader in your own capacity, to tell them this is wrong. What you're doing, putting dump on the street is wrong. When you see them cutting down electric wires, NEPA wires, tell them it's wrong. Anything where you see them open defecation, tell them it's wrong. This type of intervention in the right way. Don't go and start boxing someone and say what you are doing is wrong. That is not correcting the wrongness that he's doing. In the right manner and approach, we also need to inculcate the habit of what do you call it? A habit of acting or intervening to ensure that people do the right thing. If you keep doing this, it will keep growing, and the society will become saner. And I'll give you an example of this type of citizen leadership that we're talking about. I was in Dakar one time. They have an island which is very historic, and it was the port of taking slaves from Africa to Europe, Gori Island in Dakar, Senegal. And we went on a boat to the island, and when we came back to Dakar, we are coming out from the boat, over almost 200 of us passengers that are coming out. And as we are exiting the ferry station, something bizarre hit me. I just realized something is odd here as we were coming out. And then what came to my mind was I saw the gate where cars come into the ferry station and go out. It was wide open, but each and every one of us that were going out, we are using the pedestrian exit, the door for people to pass. They were using that to exit the ferry station. All of us passed there. No, not a single person passed through that gate where it's for vehicle, for cars and trucks and lorries. And it dawned on me. I was like, this one in Nigeria, oh boy, we'll all go out through that vehicle, the gate, the main gates for the vehicles. No, not a single one will pass through that pedestrian, including myself. You understand? And that tells me the type of society that Dakar is. If you go to, I remember one time on Twitter, on X, I was telling uh, I was telling someone that Niger Republic, yeah, this poor nation, Niger Republic, and it's very poor, the poorest country on earth, you know, they have a system that works, and people were insulting me. Move to Niger now, blah, 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 blah. But I have gone there. At 6 p.m., you cannot honk the car, press the honk of your car around some certain areas. You are not, you dare not do electricity bypass. You dare not pay or water meter. You tamper with your water meter and things like. They have a system that works. Of course, there's the enforcement on the side of the government, but most importantly, the people are willing to, live under the rule of law. And this is some of the things that we want to see happen in Nigeria. It's one thing to point a finger at the leaders in Nigeria, but if you look at it, the remaining four other fingers are pointing at you. So you also need to live by example if you want others to also lead by example. So that's really critical. And it is my hope and desire that this is what the citizen leadership intends to instill in our younger generation, inshallah.
And thank you very much. This is highly commendable, and I'm sure many people are thinking through their mind with all the other factors in the country and so on, and may have questions and probably be thinking, oh, how will this kind of knowledge, affect my life or help me or bring me out of poverty and so on. I'm sure we'll have more opportunities to talk about this. But meanwhile, I would like to really commend uh, Awisu Salisu Tanke on starting this academy, and I am really optimistic about it. I can see the future where this is going to lead to. We've had conversations around that. There's a lot of works in the ground, with partnership and collaboration with institutes and so on. Sorry. Yeah, but with the maiden course official launch coming on the 1st of July. Now, those of you on this webinar have the opportunity to have the early preview. And as some of you have been following on social media, you can visit isu.distinction.app to learn more about the academy, and things that are coming to play. So we have the flagship course on citizen leadership, and you can scan this QR code to read more about the course. Like I said, this is early preview. The official launch is on 1st of July. And that's why we are also giving an early bird offer to those of you that are here using this code, Citizen25. Just visit, scan this QR code or go to www.distinction.app and go to the first course on citizen leadership. When you click, you use this code. Like I said, there's a lot to talk about, master classes coming to play, and there are going to be special seats for the early birds. So we encourage you to use this opportunity. And when I saw when we discussed on this academy and so on, I said, some of these things is like, when you go to other institutes, though, it's a lot of money, but how this is like, oh, just less than 5,000, this is a giveaway now, and and so on. But I think it's about the passion to really start driving this practical conversation to see the change we need and so on. Is beyond just complaining or lamenting and so on. So this really for me, it's highly, if we can get many of the experienced people to come up with this initiative, believe you me, the impact is going to be, it's not going to be small. So, like I said, well, as we begin to round off, well, you might have a few questions, and we want to focus on citizen leadership, please, not politics and so on. But before we do that, just to I would like to ask Saliu, many people, like I said, might be thinking through their mind, oh, this maybe they are used to go and get this certificate and you get employment here and there. So what's going to be the impact of building your skills and so on with this kind of programs and all of that? Practically, how will that solve a typical Nigerian problem? How will that help him grow and put food on the table?
Well, thank you very much, Madam Faiz, for that. First of all, I think when we were discussing about setting up the Awisu Academy, I honestly did not even expect, my mind was not even there to think that this will be something that will excite people, especially knowing our people in northern Nigeria that are not too keen on this, you understand? But to my surprise and shock, since we started posting that we're asking people to register and doing the publicity about it, two things stood out for me. The first one is that there's actually need for this. There is the need for Dawisa Academy, and many more like it. So just because we started Dawis Leadership Academy does not mean it should end there. I really think many more people should go into doing something like this. It will really help, and it will really go a long way in educating and empowering our people. So the first thing that I realized is that actually there is need for this. The second thing that I realized is the support. That we have people wanting to see, looking for ways to add value to the ISO Academy and see how it, first of all, will become successful. And then secondly, drive impact. It's one thing just to have the academy and have people register and so on and so forth. But most importantly, them participating in the academy, will that bring about any impact? And I think down the line, when we begin to have students, this is something that will follow closely and see the type of impact that those that participated in this course are getting from it. That's the second one. Then the third one is the partnership that we're getting. A lot of people have reached out, wanting to partner, wanting to see how they can key into it, and I think that's really encouraging. Now, to answer your question, I think most importantly, what people need to understand is that getting the right skills, the right knowledge, and applying it in anything that you choose to do in life will get you is a sure way or path to success. For you to achieve what you want to achieve in life, you have to first of all get the right skills. You have to also get the right knowledge. You have to get, the right network. And with this, I think you would be successful in whatever it is that you decide to go into. Now, with this, more or less, end poverty, bring about world peace, and so on and so forth. I don't know. We're just starting this 1st of October. I don't know where it will reach, but it is my hope and prayer that whoever comes across the Awisu Academy participates in it and somehow take one or two knowledge that you will get from it and apply it in real life. I am hoping that it will change their lives. The beauty about the Awisu Academy is that we will instill the right leadership skills for you to apply. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter what you want to be in life or what you're doing. We just want to instill the right leadership skills in you, to do the right thing, whether it's from your house, whether it's by yourself, whether it's in your immediate environment, community, state, or country at large. We want to see that happening so that we shape you to become a better version of yourself. I think this is what we aim to achieve, and this is what we are set out to do. And inshallah, I'm quite optimistic that we are going to achieve that, inshallah.
Thank you very much. We can't wait to see how this evolves and grow to become a very, to make the biggest impact in our societies. So I think as we round up in the next few minutes, we can take one or two questions. Does anyone want to? Yeah, Engineer Nuhu. So please straight to the point so that we can round up.
Okay. Good afternoon to you all.
Good afternoon, Engineer.
My name is Engineer Nuhu Aminu Nuhu. I'm from Kano State, currently residing in Russia, and I am the Global President of Nigerian Student in Diaspora. So personally, for me, I am very pleased to see this initiative by Dawisu because I have been following him for long and I know what he has been doing in terms of advocating for good governance, youth participation in politics. So seeing this academy is actually something I'm really proud of. And personally, as a solidarity, I decided to join and appreciate him and also encourage our youth from all angles, including myself, to join this academy to learn from him and people like you that he bring, Mr. Faiz Bashir. Though I don't know you, it's through him I saw you for the first time, but what you said is really impactful. So thank you very much for this wonderful initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer. I really appreciate you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah, Muhammad Habib. You can unmute.
Yeah, I think. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Faiz, Mohammed Habib from University of Maiduguri. I've listened to the presenter and he really explored the issues that is currently developing Nigeria. But the fact of the matter is he neglected or sidelined the education system. All of the things that we are talking about is rooted in our education system. We are blaming leaders, yes. The leaders are a product of our education system. If the education system has not really developed them well, that's how it's going to be. And the countries we are quoting, US, Europe, and whatnot, their education system is robust. And they look at education as the foundation and bedrock of the society. But in our case, it's not like that. So even this institute you're talking about, we are building a system without solid foundation. And education is like a building when the foundation is faulty. There is no way you can have very concrete building. So that is how it is. So those of us that school in the 70s and 80s are thinking that our system, our time was the best, but actually the foundation was laid there. And that's why the foundation was faulty. That's why our education system has collapsed. Our education system is not teaching humanity. It's only teaching selfishness. And selfishness begets corruption. And that's why we find ourselves. So how are we now going to reverse this trajectory of the way our education system is being implemented? In Nigeria, we are looking at education at the economic level, the financial part, not the humane sympathy and what not happened. Because when you say you are educated, one of the few of the attributes of an educated person is you are humanist, you have sympathy, you are selfless. And all of these features, I don't think you can hardly find among 98% of Nigerians. So I think we need to see how this institute will redesign its curriculum so that humanity, selflessness, and all of that will be done. And you're talking about issue of technology. As a consumer nation, we are a consumer of technology. We are not producers of any technology. If my system gets spoiled now, there is no spare part that is produced in Nigeria that I can pick it and use it. So I think we have a lot of things to do. But the basic thing is, let's see how we can correct the wrongly founded education system. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam.
I'm sure you have.
Yes, first of all, I want to thank Engineer Nuhu for deciding to join and every other person that joined. But I think my comment is to Madam Muhammad from Maiduguri. We thank you for your observation and a very solid and valid one. But there's something that I learned at Harvard, one of the courses that I did in Harvard, one of our professors, he taught us what is called the fishbone approach in solving issues. Now, the fishbone, just like the normal fish that you eat, if you take a whole fish with its bone and everything and swallow it, what will happen? The thorns in the fish will choke your neck, right? And your mouth and what have you. But if you take that fish, I don't eat fish, but those that eat fish, they know that when they eat fish, they take the thorn, the bone, one at a time, and by the time they finish removing that thorn, then the flesh of the fish becomes eatable and they just eat it without any harm. Now, if I can relate that to the problem that we have, particularly the education sector that Malam highlighted, the problem is humongous. It is a whole fish, with all its bone and its what have you in it. And for us to take it all and say we want to resolve it, it's close to impossible. You understand? Because the education, he knows much more than I do, that education, for you to see any meaningful result, takes time. You understand? You have to take time to instill this knowledge into the students before they grow from primary to secondary, and so on and so forth. So by the time you see the result, maybe 10 years from when you start doing the right thing. We have other issues like even the curriculum that are being taught in classes. there is need to look at it. We have a huge infrastructural gap, in our education system, right from the primary school to the secondary school, even the tertiary institution. So the quality of education that we are even that is even coming out from the institutions, right from the basic to the tertiary, is also something to worry about. Funding is another major problem. If you even want to, provide this infrastructure, where will you get the funding from? Because it requires huge resources. So all this put together make it a whole problematic fish with too many bones in it. Now, one of the things that the Davis Leadership Academy intends to do is to start, removing these thorns one by one. And like you rightly said, this selflessness of leaders that we need to instill, particularly in the upcoming generation, is one of the areas, is one of the fishbone that we want to remove. How do we instill this sense of leadership, in our in the next generation or our generation, and so on and so forth? How do we make sure that we are after a better society than just better after our better individuals? If you look it in a way that whatever we do affects the overall society in a positive way, I think that is what selflessness is, and that is what we are trying to do. We can only start, Malam Muhammad. We cannot solve it overnight. We will do our little, the little that we can, and inshallah, I'm a very optimistic person that always sees the glass as half full rather than half empty. So we are starting now. We will try as much as possible to widen the area of impact that we can achieve. There's no harm in Dawi's Leadership Academy going to talk to students in primary 1, primary 2, primary 5, physically go to talk to them, career guidance for secondary school students. The possibilities are endless, like I said, but the most important thing is let's start from somewhere, and then from there we see how we can expand and eat the whole fish without the thorns, choking us, inshallah. Thank you so much for your contribution, and it's well noted.
Thank you. So this is the last question, and we lost Khalil.
Yes, thank you very much, Faiz. Hi, Dawis. Khalil is my name.
Khalil.
I've had the fortune of being an educator. I am now a builder, and half, a big fan of you and Faiz. So I'll just jump right to it. I'm at a stage in my career where I am increasingly appreciating the importance of influence without formal authority, which is basically what you've said throughout here. So everything has been music to my ears. And this is why I find that the collaboration between you and Distinction is so compelling. But throughout, I've always believed that educational isn't institutional, like the previous speakers had talked about, where they think about it as a formal system. It's also cultural. For example, you telling us here that you are not choosing to bypass NEPA connection. That is education. It's how we foster this exchange of information, that information happens. So another example is Distinction now is complementing what universities cannot provide. And I'm happy to see the ecosystem kind of expand in that space. So my question is around the last mile problem of education. How do we help learners move from acquiring knowledge to applying it effectively? And in my biased view, as a previous educator, the transition from acquiring skills to applying it, which is necessary for leadership, depends heavily on mentorship and coaching and being part of very strong networks and communities that hopefully will provide feedback and opportunities for practice. So Do you see DLA, which is just a short term for Dawisu Leadership Academy? That's how I'll be referring to it when I talk with my friends. Do you see DLA evolving beyond delivering knowledge to intentionally fostering mentorship, coaching, and community, so that people can apply what they've learned? And then, as a follow-up question, how do you see AI changing the nature of citizen leadership and the way people can influence without formal authority, especially now that we think that AI is going to make people lazy, they will think less. There's so much content, so they will value it less. So the question I repeat is, how do you see AI changing the nature of citizen leadership? And this first question is, will DLA, your leadership academy, will it evolve beyond delivering knowledge so that there's mentorship, coaching, and community elements that hopefully can serve as feedback cycle until we're able to effect that change without formal authority?
Well, thank you very much, Mano Khalid, for that excellent contribution. I think for me, in terms of the first question, that is the ultimate end goal. What is the essence of doing whatever it is that we are going to do, at leadership, DLA, that you rightly coined it. What is the end game if we are going to do all that and then people don't apply it? I just gave an example of one of the things that I learned at Harvard that I'm applying almost on a daily basis in my life. That is the fishboard approach. This is how I solve almost all my problems. You understand? It's by the application of what I've learned at Harvard. And what I've learned is not just things like this. One of our professors at Harvard, if I can, tell you this, was a former president of Ecuador. He's still there in Harvard. He's a former president that became a lecturer. He's one of our lecturers, at Harvard. And what he is there to do, basically, is to teach us failure. He was a president. He did not do well as president. He was ousted out of office, and he went on exile to Harvard, and they saw that he has value to add. Even failure is a lesson in life that you need to learn how to manage, and that is what he's there for. He turned us into his cabinet in the classroom, asked us, be giving us scenarios of what he did as president. He will not tell us the end result of what happened, but ask our opinion. We as his cabinet will tell him, okay, no, do this, no, do that, don't do this, don't do this. He will give us context, and he will ask us for opinion, just like the same way like the Federal Executive Council does in the meeting, or the State Executive Council. He was there to teach us failure, that failure is not the end of the world. And I took that and I'm applying it in my life, that just because I wanted something and I do not get it, or it does not happen the way I planned it to be, that does not mean I have failed. You understand? So the end game for DLA in the long run is not just to come and have people register, participate in the course, and leave. For me, the end game is I want to see 10 years from today, how many life-changing situations the DLA has equipped people, with the tools to be able to effect. I think that is the ultimate. If you ask me what my goal will be, and I believe this is it, you understand? That is one. Now, the second thing, you talked about AI, that is a whole ball game, to be honest. Like I said, I'm not a tech person, and all that. But even this morning, I have maintained a very, should I say, cordial relationship with AI, because I'm particular about my diet. I'm particular about what I eat. Every day, I take a photo of my food and share it with an AI tool, and it tells me. Probably sometimes ask questions. Okay, what is the portion? What is the size and all that? But at the end of the day, it gives me an estimated number of calories I'm eating. You understand? Without having to, use measuring tools when cooking food and all that. That is a good way of applying AI in our daily lives. AI is here to stay. I find it so amazing that I am, talking like an IT guy, talking about AI and the role of AI in society, but it's very, very, very important. AI to me, as a journalist, I'm a journalist by profession. I write my article. It is my idea. It is my creation. The same way in the past that we give whatever you write, whether it be it article or as an academician, you write your thesis, you give it to someone to proofread. We all do that. Even professors give it to someone to proofread, give it to someone to get a second opinion. You understand? So the same way, if for instance now I write an article, I put it in AI. What is there? There are grammatical errors in it, and so on and so forth. But the entirety of the subject matter, the ideas, it is my creation. So I see it as something, some sort of a tool to complement our own thinking, to make it easier for us to navigate this current evolving world that we are in, and so on and so forth. So it's there to add value to our lives and enhance it and make it more practical than anything else. But like everything in life, the how you use it, the same way you are using internet for good, someone is using it for Yahoo to scam people, to do fraud, and so on and so forth. So everything that we do in life is how the intention that we put in using it that matters. Do you do it for good? Do you do it for bad? Do you um, do you subject yourself to, or do you submit your thinking faculty to AI to do it for you? I think that is where we need to be careful. I think that is where we need to ensure that we don't allow AI to take over our lives. I hope I answered that correctly, because like I said, I'm not
Yeah,
an expert in AI.
thank you. Thank you very much. Guys, and thank you, Khalil, for coining DLA and the, the
Very
great
good, very
questions.
good one.
Just to fortunate to know Khalil, he is an AI expert, and
No wonder.
I'm sure Academy is open. It has an open door to partner with you to see how we can even use AI to drive citizenship, citizen leadership, and so on. And yeah, we'd
Yeah.
like to use this opportunity to thank you all before I give Sally the final word. I can see a lot of experienced people in here. Mala Muhammad Habib, thank you for joining, who is an expert educator. I happen to know him too from UNIMED more than a decade ago, and so on. So we would like to, there are many people that may not have this opportunity. Your mentees, I believe that this will be a good opportunity for them, and also future master class with Arisu. So I call on you to each sponsor your mentees. At least, Khalil, I want to see 10 of your mentees. We let them give them the voucher before 1st of July. I can see Muhammad Sadiq, Engineer Bello Eti. I expect 10 of your mentees. Let's get them to sign up. Uh, Thank you, Khalil. We have 10 from Khalil. So, yeah, we follow up on that. And we call on all others that have the opportunity to be where you are to support your younger ones by, giving them this opportunity to be the first to access the leadership and the citizenship course on ISO Academy. And final closing remark, Alhaji Salihu. Imagine imagine a young Nigerian watching this webinar who feels powerless, frustrated,
Yes.
and convinced that nothing can change unless they have money, power,
Mm,
or political connections. What will you say
yes.
to that person?
First of all, thank you, Khalil, for the volunteering of 10 students. We commend you for that. We ask others to also uh, do that. And to everyone listening, this is not a perfectly done project. We are open to suggestions, we are open to corrections, criticisms, and so on and so forth. It is not just for people to comment, but where they feel we need to improve upon, we're open to that. We're open to partnerships. We're open to building an ecosystem where we can impact positively in our community. I really commend everyone that has joined us today. And I think ultimately, what was the question again? Sorry.
Yeah, a young person that is feeling
Yeah.
powerless.
Yes, I think one of the most important lesson in life that I always tell people is that to be hopeful. You know, whatever you're doing, whatever you're going through, be hopeful. Do not uh, do not be helpless, do not be hopeless, because whatever you're going through, there's always a way out. You know, فإن مع العسر يسرا, like the verse of the Quran said. And um, to take life one day at a time. This is what I do. You know, I take one day at a time, and this is how I've been able to move forward. I plan for the long term, but I don't worry about the future. I don't at all. I worry about today. What do I need to do today to make it a success? And then tomorrow I wake up and begin it. But if you do that, you don't get overwhelmed. You don't feel you are carrying the weight of the shoulder on your head. And if there are three things that I tell people, young people that I always come across, is that number one, you know, be educated. You don't have to wait for someone to give you education. Do it yourself. And I can use myself as an example. Education has really suffered me. I have suffered to get education. Understand? And this is a story probably later in life that I might tell. But I just want to say that I have suffered. But I made it a point in my life to keep going. You know, I have ever since I finished my second master's recently. I've been contemplating: do I go for a PhD or do I let it end here, or you know, maybe just keep going doing courses and so on and so forth. The bottom line is, I would just want to keep learning. I just want to keep acquiring knowledge. So this is my first advice to the younger people. My second advice to the younger people: do not make your life about money, financial gain. If it comes, let it be a bonus. Do not be driven by the desire to make money, to you know, provide services. Let it be life changing for someone, you know. And at the end of the day, the benefits will come, not just the financial benefits, but everything. But if you make making money your priority, you will end up being derailed. You'll end up becoming greedy. You'll end up wanting more and more and more, and that would really kill your soul, and might really make you go astray, because desperation will kick in and you never want to get enough. And the third thing that I always say is is one thing to get the experience in life, but like I always say, and this has been said in several places, you know, the best way to live life is to live through your own experiences, but most importantly, through the experiences of others. If it took me 30 years of advocacy in different sectors, whether community development, politics, governance, and what the media, you know, if you come and we sit together through the mentorship that I think Malan Khalil was mentioning, I can impact to you within a sitting or two the summary of my 30 years of experience. If you go and sit with Malam Faiz, his almost 2 decades of doing FlexiServe, he will give you so much information through his own experiences that you don't have to wait for 20 years to get it. So try as much as possible. And this also by, if you look at it like some sort of mentorship and guidance, you understand? So try as much as possible when you are in a room with someone that is more experienced, listen. Do not try to prove to him that you have also arrived. You have seen life, you have done things, That way you are not going to get much out of him. But be attentive, listen to him and tap from his own experiences, and you'll learn a lot from that. There are 3 people that I've tapped my experiences from, and I'm not talking about history. I'm talking about people that I was born and they were actively leading, and 4 of them actually. The first one is Mahatma Gandhi. I have followed his story. I have followed everything that he has done, how he started from South Africa, and how he did what he did in his life. If you don't know about him, you can go and read the history of Mahatma Gandhi. The second person is Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa is someone that is so selfless. If every time you mention the word selfless, even in this conversation, when Malam Muhammad was talking about selfless leaders, Mother Teresa came to my mind. This is someone that I've seen her during my lifetime. I've listened to, I've seen a lot of the work that she has done. I followed her life story and all that, and I think it's something that I always make a reflection upon. The third person is Mandela. You understand? When you talk about leaders who are not after leadership, this guy spent 27 years in prison also, came out, became president, and say, okay, that's it. 1 tenure, I'm done. Imagine a Nigerian leader saying, I'm just going to do 1 tenure and then step aside. We don't see that in this part of the country. So he inspires me in not wanting to perpetually be in office till I die, if ever I ever get the opportunity to do that. And the last person is Obama. Faiz, you made mention of Obama. During Obama's campaign, I think it was in 2007-8, when Obama won his election, I had to find a way of sending money to a friend of mine in the US to contribute, I think about $70 to Obama's campaign. That was how much I believed in Obama at that time. I was religiously following his campaign, his speeches, and what have you. You understand? The day that Obama won, I remember where I was back then. I was in Iran. I left from Dubai to Iran. I was in Iran. Obama won. I was receiving congratulatory messages, people congratulating me that Obama won because of the campaign, because of how I promoted, how I amplified his message. So I've learned also a lot from the story of Obama and how he became president. His presidency is a totally different ballgame, but how he became president is something that has inspired me because he started from community development advocacy, to becoming a senator and so on and so forth. So find people that you don't need to meet them. You just need to find them. If they align with your principles in life, learn from their experiences and to really come in handy. This is my message to the people, inshallah.
Thank you very much. You will all agree with me. This has been a very wonderful and enlightening conversation. And to many of you, you also agree with me. You've seen the other side of Arisu, how knowledgeable and experienced he is. We can't wait to see the growth of Arisu Academy and so on, and the opportunities that will come. Thank you
Inshallah.
very much for your
Thank
time
you
all.
to
Thank you to the special guests. We look forward to many more of this. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.